So today we're going to be doing a timing belt on this old girl. It's a Volvo XC90 and it's the pretty much the 2.5 litre D5 5-cylinder inline diesel. Lovely engine, and it's a simple timing belt to do as well, so if you're thinking about DIYing it, probably one of the best ones that you could possibly think about doing. So I want to get the upper timing cover off, and there's a few little tabs holding it on, like this one down here. One. Here's the second one. The way that they work is you just push the tab down and then push the cover away. And then I think, is there one more down there? Very well, maybe. I think there's a couple. Actually, I think there is another tab on this side here. So, a little bit difficult to see, but there is just here a bolt. So that's that bolt out of the timing cover, and now she should come out. So that's where that little bolt goes through, and then the other clips. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Set that to one side. So now we can see the condition of our timing belt. And as you can see, we've started to get some cracks coming through to the back side of the belt, so that is well overdue. That's in the danger zone territory. It isn't strictly speaking necessary, there is plenty of room, but if you want to create a little bit of extra room, you can unclip the power steering reservoir and you can move that over so you can get a little bit more room in here. Personal choice, you can always tie this to there and keep it out of the way, and it might just give you a little bit more room to get your hands down there if you need to. So this is one of those moments where actually having this slightly up and out of the way does help, because if I just lift that up, I can get on my spanner here to take the tension off of the ancillary drive belt so that I can get this belt slipped off. So that was hard work. Right, so it should be way easier for you than it was for me without the camera in the way. I just couldn't see what I was doing. There we go. Easy peasy. Time to remove the wheel, and they are 19s. Don't forget to drop an axle stand underneath the subframe. Anywhere, it's a fairly long subframe, goes all the way along there. Anywhere under there's fine. I'll leave my jack under there for a bit of extra support. And now we need to remove the wheel arch liner. you don't need to remove the whole thing. I've just bent mine out of the way and I've chained it to my jack, so that's going to stay out of the way now, so I can get to the crank pulley. That's all I really need to get at. They weren't on mine, but just through here you can see one of them just there. There are these little rivets, and I imagine that in order to get the wheel arch liner out you may have to drill those out, which is a bit of a shame. Crank pulley's held on with 4 13mm bolts. Need an extension for that top one, methinks. Also need to remove this centre pulley nut. Go. It's not keywayed on the crank, but it does have a little notch here, so you can only put this back in the right direction. So don't you worry about that. Will it just wiggle off? Come on, let me have it. There we go. Lovely. Now we can time her up. And now we just want to turn over the engine and find our timing marks. And that is basically it there. You can see our timing mark here. See, they all line up. This little indentation with the gear tooth with the little notch on the back. That's that timing mark. So that's where that's supposed to be. And then the top one, there's a little line in the camshaft just here in the camshaft gear wheel, and then above it is a mark in the you know, the rear timing cover there. Awesome. Now we can remove the belt and undo the tensioner. So now we can undo our tensioner. Doesn't matter if the crank or the camshaft moves slightly, you can always turn it back to its exact position with a spanner when you are refitting the new timing belt. In my experience though, they pretty much stay where they are, which is good. So I'm just going to remove this bolt here completely. So once the bolt is out, the tensioner will just come out. This is how it works. Basically, it just pushes there, like most tensioners. And now we can take off the belt, check our timing mark. We're still in the right place. Might have to go down below to get that off. It kind of gets stuck on around that bottom pulley. Pretty bad. Just as well we're getting it done. And then apart from the water pump, which is recommended but is technically optional, this idler is the last component of the timing belt system that we're going to replace. But I would strongly recommend, and so pretty much every other mechanic on the planet, that you also replace the water pump. It would be crazy not to. There isn't really a clean way that I've found to drain out the coolant. You either remove one of the radiator hoses, which inherently generally creates quite a lot of mess, or you just remove the water pump and let it drain out into a catch can below, which also makes a bit of a mess. I've left one bolt in, as you can see just there. Just going to try and give it a bit of a wiggle and just let it drain. I like to leave one bolt in, loosen it off a little bit, and then give the timing belt the water pump a couple of taps, maybe with a hammer on the end of it, just gently. and that kind of just loosens it up and lets the water drain out more gently rather than, you know, just like spray out all over the place. Actually missed a bolt, I think. Got like a nice steady strip there dripping out. I'll try and get a little bit more water coming out, and then that should hopefully drain nice and cleanly. This kind of flow is ideal. It's going to drain out the system in a reasonable amount of time. It's going reliably down there into my bucket, so I'm not getting it all over the floor. And without making a mess, because we don't want to cover the whole timing belt area with coolant if we can help it. There we go. And there is our water pump. All that way is fine. So you can see I've missed a bit there. So we've got to clean off all of the old gasket so that our new gasket will seal properly. So just need to get that bit there off and do a little bit more cleanup on this, and then we'll be ready to fit the new water pump down there. So I've just fitted my new water pump. The bolts are not hugely tight, so I have just torqued mine down to 14 Newton meters. Seemed good. But there's no torque setting on the official procedure that I saw for that. So now it's just a case of fitting the idler 25 Newton meters and the tensioner 27 Newton meters when it's tensioned, and then we can slip on the belt. So get this idler fitted. Just a 10mm bolt holding this in. This kit, I've got the Ena kit. Comes with new bolts, just in case you're curious. That's the part number of the kit that I'm using. This kit also comes with the water pump. Okay, tensioner next. So this part here is important. Down there is where the tensioner goes, and then you see just above it there's a little indentation, a little half moon shape with a little stub coming out of it. That is the locator for this part of the tensioner. So that part of the tensioner must go up into that little nub, and it basically just holds the tensioner where it's supposed to be. And I think you can see it better from down here. So you want to get your bolt started in there, and then with your other finger you just kind of want to push the tensioner down. You can just see above that I've got it where it's supposed to be. So I just want to get that finger tight. There's a lot of thread lock on this, so you might need a ratchet to finish it off, but as long as it's vaguely in there for now, that's fine. And before we go any further, there is absolutely no reason why we cannot get this thing torqued up now. That's it. It's 25 Newton meters. So we're going to get our timing belt on the bottom here, but first we're going to make sure that we are still in time. And as you can see, we're spot on. So we'll slip this, slip that underneath. It's a lot easier with two hands. Yeah, basically we'll slip that underneath here like that, and then we'll put it up the top. So next you want to tuck it behind this idler here, and then up and onto our camshaft pulley, like so. There we go. And then from here we want to go down around the water pump and then around the tensioner pulley. So when the timing belt is on, it should look like that, and the tensioner, although you should have snugged up the bolt a little bit, the tensioner should be able to move freely like that, so that we can now tension the timing belt. And basically what you want to do is you want to get that indicator mark there. You want to get it pretty much bang smack in the middle of where we located the tensioner on that little stub. And to make that make a little bit more sense, this is how it is tensioned. So that's the tensioner. So we turn the tensioner around until we locate that somewhere in the middle of here. Will be okay. I live in a cold climate, so I'm going to aim for slightly over to this way. We don't get -20, but we do get -10 here in the winter. Right now it's about 14 degrees, so I'm going to aim for just a little closer over here, and that should be fine for moi. So in order to tension this, what I want to do is I want to lift the tensioner towards the back of the vehicle, and then I want to line up those two bits that I showed you, and also in the diagram that I showed you, and then I want to tighten down the nut with a 12mm spanner. My one's 12mm. Your replacement bolt could be a slightly different size, doesn't matter. And then I'll come back when I've tightened that. I can't get my hand down there with the camera in the way. And then once the tensioner is set, you basically want it pretty much bang smack in the middle. You can see, because of the temperature, I've just gone ever so slightly off to the other side because I live in a colder climate. And then the center nut there gets tightened down to 27 Newton meters. So that's done. Now I'm going to put the coolant back in and I'm going to check it for leaks, and then we just reassemble. That is the timing belt fitted. Just double checking that the so my timing mark up here is on, so that's good. And then my timing mark down here is on as well. We're spot on there, so that's good news. So the timing is right. And after you've turned it over, there's one more thing you have to check. You just need to double check that your tensioner is still in the right location, that it hasn't moved drastically. Mine's good, mine's fine. Everything is torqued down now on this. I'm not leaking any coolant down there. Everything is fine. So all we do now is reassemble, and then we start the engine. So once everything's reassembled, I've put some coolant in it. I've put the cover back on with the bolt back in. I've put the drive belt back on. I actually put on a new one. The old one's over there. The crankshaft pulley is obviously back on. Now I don't have any torque settings for that. Strangely enough, the official procedure from Volvo doesn't list it. So I just tightened them down with the impact gun, with the centre nut, and then the outside ones I just did to like 25 Newton meters. Felt about right to me. So that's it. Now we fire it up and see what happens. Make sure nothing falls into the engine bay. Make sure there's nothing in the windscreen wipers, just in case if they're on. Good. Make sure it's not in gear. Easy peasy. That's it. that is how you replace the timing belt on a Volvo D5 engine. This engine's in loads of cars, not just the XC90. So if you do give it a try, let me know how you get on.